Welcome to Tent Talk, the podcast with Nancy McCready, where we talk about life under the big tent of God's presence and the provoking process of discipleship. Here we go.
Well, if my voice sounds any quieter today, it's because BEAU is taking his nap in the office with me as I am recording. And am I loving that? Yes, I am. It is one of the great perks and benefits of reentry back at home. So with, a canceled flight on Monday as I entered into London Heathrow and a very quick turnaround where British Airways then booked me on American Airlines, and I left a few hours later, arrived in Charlotte, North Carolina, missed my connecting flight there, and then got into Austin, Texas, though, that night, and then drove home and got into Sealy, Texas about 2 a.m. on Tuesday morning, and Wynn McCready was standing in the driveway, ready to welcome me and to help me with my luggage. And it was such a good re-entry. And I was right back at work, which I always attempt to do. I find it is one of the best re-entry strategies ever. And I was up at 6 a.m. and began Oxford Online at 8:30 a.m. and went through the evening, I believe, until 9 p.m. with one-on-ones and tutorial groups. And it was good. It was very, very good. And today, if you're listening to this in real time, you can see that this is being posted much later than usual because I don't start appointments until later in the day, and Wednesdays are my production day. So I took the liberty, although I was up early at my regular time, I took the liberty to get many things done here at the ministry house, to organize a few things, and as the house management duties are many, and I am attempting to get those things done and glad to do it. I love feathering the nest, whether that's my apartment in Portsmouth, UK, my own home, the ministry house. But it's been a very good re-entry. And so I simply wanted to share with you today how important it is when we climb the mountains of great works, maybe a great spiritual experience with the Lord, that we're very mindful of how we also come down the mountain. So this is a short episode today, but when I find that in real time, just simple wisdom shared can be so very helpful in the process of maturing, the process of growing up, of real, true discipleship that is sonship. And so this is one of those things. Now, it's not a law. It's not perfect. If you have a different strategy that works for you, then you do that. But I want to share that oftentimes we spend so much time climbing the mountain that we do not allow the muscles to be developed for coming down the mountain. You've heard me share before that statistics show that more people die coming down Mount Everest than climbing up Mount Everest, because they spend so much time preparing and conditioning to reach the summit that oftentimes they are not prepared as well for what the descent will mean. And we must be able to be those that can go up and down, up and down. So re-entry, whether you have just been at a 3-day retreat, or you have been traveling, or you have just finished a major project, that there is that place where you learn that it is not always the best to collapse on the other side and just, let all restraint go. For me, and I want to encourage you to seek out what yours would be, but in sharing mine, I want to say that I find that you will not have as many highs and lows if you stay in the reality of your life's rhythm. So that if you're traveling and you go somewhere, I was just gone for 3 weeks, and it was quite intense, quite enjoyable, good rhythm. I don't suffer from jet lag. I don't tend to have any trouble that way. But I find that it's just a part of the ebb and flow of life. So I come home and have learned to reenter that I am not the traveling diva. So when I reenter, I do not expect everyone to, stop everything and, cater to me. They are extremely helpful at the McCready home. As I said, when McCready was standing in the driveway at 2 a.m. simply to help me get inside and welcome me in. And I didn't require that. That was what he chose to do. And my heart was, to be ever so grateful and to then, as quickly as possible, get in bed so that he could go to sleep, I could go to sleep. After a few minutes with BEAU. And, hopefully, we were in bed, I think maybe by 2:30 and down for the count, and to be considerate of what they have been carrying, the weight that people at home have been carrying, what has been required of others, world events. The biggest thing in the world isn't that my flight got canceled. And I certainly take notice of it, but we can't act as though, it's the end all to end all. That we just take these things in stride and we're honest, and if, it can be irritating and frustrating, but that you learn to take those things in stride and you learn to let your life be the ordinary of every day. And what you'll find is that the grace of God becomes much more evident in that ebb and flow. And that we just don't want to make too big a deal. Now, you can before the Father. I mean, you can make as big a deal as you want about anything you want before the Father. But with others, it is simply about being sincere and honest, but remembering that other people are living through many things. So I don't have to minimize mine to maximize someone else's, but if I'm really receiving of the Father in the ebb and flow of life, then my need is met. I have his attention. He's quite aware of what I'm living through. And so it feeds me. I don't have to set myself aside to make a big deal out of others. I let him meet my need. This is why we've been made new, so we can be 100% compatible with him, and we can allow him to meet our need so that there is such a fresh supply. And it is real, and it is true, and eventually you're remembering what are my friends and family living through, and how can I, be mindful of them, because the Father is tending to me. So it's not about having to set myself aside and make no big deal. I'm letting the Father make a big deal out of me, meaning I know his thoughts towards me are more than there are, sands on the seashore. I know that he is fully supplying, and he is my reward. And so I wanted to just share this ever so simply today. And as I continue today and have the privilege of meeting with other folks on Oxford Online, and working with leadership teams tomorrow, having, conversations, getting my hair cut, the ebb and flow of life, and then opening a Cross Encounter this weekend in Belleville, Texas, and having a board meeting on Sunday, and continuing with Oxford Online and all the other administrative things that need to be taken care of here at NMM, and troubleshooting on many, many discipleship projects that are presenting themselves to NMM, and then preparing to travel again March 14th through 30 into the Netherlands and into the British Isles. And in all of that, I want to encourage you. Allow the Lord to increase your capacity for Him. Don't be stoic, and don't faint in your minds either. Remember, don't shrug off God's discipline, but don't be crushed by it either. Learn to live in that ebb and flow of life. Be with others who are learning that, and let us be that, spiritual body of Christ, not a soulish entity that produces nothing, but to be that assembled body. There are many parts, but when you receive something that comes and it's not assembled, there are many parts, but there must be an assembling, a bringing together for great purpose. And we don't want to forsake and abandon the assembling of ourselves together, not just gathering all the parts, but being assembled by Him for His purposes. And I hope that if you haven't already listened to the previous episode that dropped on Monday, March 2nd, on the delusional power of sin and how it is continuing to deceive the body of Christ and her core identity. Therefore, she'll never be able to function. I want to encourage you to go over and to listen to it. I hope to pick up there in our next episode. But today, I thought, no, I'm just going to talk a bit about reentry and about that ebb and flow rhythm. And I want you to be encouraged to let the Father tend to you so very, very deeply. If you haven't yet really taken hold of the devotional podcast on all of our platforms, then I would encourage you to do so. I think we're somewhere around day 180 something in this year-long podcast where we are looking to make this devotional deposit into people's lives as they seek the Lord, and as we saturate in as many ways as we possibly can the message of the gospel and the message of the Father and His sons. So I do hope that you'll check that out. If you haven't subscribed to Nancy McCready Ministries YouTube channel, go and do that. Make yourself available to as many of the resources as possible. If you've never read my book, From Trauma to Trust, it becomes more relevant every day, and I would encourage you to get it. If you are listening to this in Europe, there are, it's in Polish and it's in German, and I would love to have it in Spanish within the year. And we are looking at our resources and the continuing, deepening development of them. And I'm praying about those persons that will come alongside to assist NMM as we really labor to see others scale up in what the Father is doing in them and through them. So thank you so much for being here on the Tent Talk podcast today. It is the flagship podcast of Nancy McCready Ministries. So thanks again so much. I love you all. And as BEAU, the dachshund, the mascot of NMM, continues to sleep, I want to sign off and say again, how rich it is to be home. It's great to go, great to be sent out, but it's also magnificent to come home and to live in His pace, His rhythm, immersed in His love, and enfolded in it. Ephesians 4:15 says that we might grow up, and I want to encourage you to do the same. So, love you all. Until next time.
Information on Nancy, please visit nancymccready.com or follow her on social media at NBMcCready.